in 2017, I was hired by Adidas during NBA All-Star Weekend to be like one of the artists in this space, basically making work around the narrative of All-Star Weekend. Okay. So like you've got the skills challenge, 3-point contest, dunk contest, All-Star game. Adidas has a roster of athletes, and they've created this space to kind of show off to them of like, look at all the stuff that we're making, and this is like for you to come check out. I even drew one of my first Nike characters for a shirt for Nike I drew in a science lab.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's like I wasn't paying attention, but look what I did.
Yeah.
And it just happened to work out a few years after the fact. There have been places and there have been moments that in my career that it's like, this would be remarkable to have known consistency. You can financially plan around things versus like some months you make what you would make in a whole year in a month.
Yeah.
And then some months, would you like to buy a hat today?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
100%.
Can I draw a sticker for you right now? Like now this job offer.
It is difficult to go almost anywhere in Austin without seeing the thumbprint, quite literally actually, of today's guest. For many of you, he needs no introduction, but Will Bryant is an artist, illustrator, and designer whose paintings, drawings, products, and installations are instantly recognizable. While Austin is lucky to have him, his work has been featured in what is essentially all 25 of the world's top 25 most recognizable brands, including Google, Facebook, Nike, Target, the New York Times, the White House, just to name a few. Interestingly enough, though, Will was not some child prodigy. His first love was basketball, and he didn't find a love for art until college. If you're still trying to figure out what it is that you love, be sure to stick around for this conversation. As talented as Will is, his greatest skill may be just being an awesome human being. He cares deeply for people, and his desire to have people be included inspires most everything he does. Be sure to like and subscribe so we can continue to bring more stories like these to you, and I can't wait for you to meet Will. I don't know, 25 most recognizable brands in the world.
I've had a lot of bosses.
Yeah, which is amazing. Would you say like 500 something companies, or it was like
I have
an astronomical number? I'm not trying to exaggerate. I just
not
remember
in
it being
like a
huge. It was like
boastful way, but it's like I have to do that to keep working.
Yes.
There have been repeat clients, but I don't know. I'm not good at math, so I've never stopped.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It is a lot. Yeah. And if you're local here in Austin, you can't really go, I don't know, probably a block without seeing your artwork somewhere in a coffee shop or in a parking garage.
Which also,
or a business.
too, could be problematic at some point where you're running out of space. Not everyone
where
needs
else
to
do we
work
put
with
it. Maybe tattoos. Have you ever on somebody just permanent?
Yes. Yeah. Not on the face.
Okay.
To my knowledge.
I guess I did go to the
You
face.
did went straight face, which is full commitment.
A little aggressive.
No, there's some arms, some thighs out there with my work on it.
Yes, that's incredible. I did not know that. That's awesome. Okay. Well, I want to work to that, like your inspiration, some of the projects you've done, and so on. But I think part of what's so interesting about what you do, your career, how successful you've been, is that it was not your first love, is fair to say, right?
No. I mean, family, friends, anyone I went to school with, no one would have known that I was going to do this. Like, it doesn't make sense until you, connect dots looking back. But as a kid, there was maybe some subtle indications, but drawing facial hair on the profile of a male face on your book cover really doesn't mean that you're going.
This is a genius.
Or the super S, over and over again, and the Bulls logo. Those were the things that I was drawing all the time. It was very, but not super compelling, and definitely not telling the future of this guy's got it. He's definitely going to be an artist. I took one art class in 8th grade. Absolutely loved it. Okay. And prior to that, I enjoyed creative writing. I did not enjoy math. There was no time
that was clear to you.
Any of the timeline that math was going to be a love of mine. And then I guess freshman year, so it was back-to-back years, I met my requirement in middle school, met the requirement in high school, and I enjoyed it and loved both of the teachers and like the activities, projects that were done in those classes I liked, but it wasn't, this is what I want to do all the time.
Yeah. There's no like spark there yet.
No,
They were
not
like, this is
really.
it. Yeah.
I got into music but had no musical talent
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
I did maybe a month of piano lessons.
Yeah.
It was a disaster. Yeah. But I definitely hung around in music. And I think that was the entry point.
Okay.
It was like visual culture, album art.
Yeah.
I mean, having this tangible object that then like gives you an indication of what the music is about or sounds like or feels like. I love that relationship between a visual artist and a musician. Sometimes it's the band, someone within the band that makes the work, but sometimes they're working with someone else outside of that.
Yeah.
But I love that, like the connection between the two.
Yeah. Well, I love the part of your story that it wasn't your first love, because I feel like so often when you come across people, especially with like the level of success that you've had, it's like, oh yeah, I had my first painting when I was 1.5 years old. And, it's all I've ever known. And you're like, well, I'm already behind it, 15, because And so to hear your story, I'm like, this is like, I think that would be encouraging to a lot of people that are
100%.
Trying to figure out what they want to do, their passion, their contribution.
Well, I think you can develop, my path has been developing interest and relationships and how to connect with people. And then I got into this other specific industry or subject. But I did win, I'm pretty sure it was first grade art contest for a Dallas Cowboys drawing. Me as a Dallas Cowboys player. Very much sports. Sports was the first love.
Yeah, basketball, right? You're a basketball player?
Basketball, I absolutely,
Big part of your life.
like the first thing that I really connected with, and like no one asked me to do it.
Yeah.
That's kind of when you know that
Yeah.
you want to do something, is when any free time comes up. But the ability to connect with anyone from any background through basketball was, you're like playing in the neighborhood and someone rides up on their bike, just moved in immediately, like, just jump in. Like, this is what we're
100%.
doing right now.
Yeah.
You're included.
You have to speak the same language. It's like, 100%.
So cool.
Yeah. You mentioned an older brother. You're one of 3?
Yes.
Okay.
So my siblings, my brother is 10 years older, and then my sister is 7 years older. And I was kind of the accident, late to the party, showed up. But they're very like grateful and thankful and consider me a blessing.
They've clarified
It is what that
for you,
is, but I'm like, you didn't plan this. This was it just happened. And
awesome.
we're all happy that it did. I get that. But I'm sure there was a moment where you were not very certain about it.
Yeah.
But yes, that dynamic was absolutely amazing, because I'm getting, third, not only am I the third child, but then that gap, I get to watch SNL when I shouldn't be.
Sure, yeah.
Things
the
that,
typical younger.
Yeah. Like, come on, Mom, let me stay up. Like, my brother's awake. Let me go watch. And then, as far as like influences and exposing me to different things a lot sooner, because it just naturally happens. And all of that was really good. My siblings' family dynamic was awesome and amazing.
I don't want to skip through middle school either, too, because a very important relationship was formed in middle school. Right?
I laid the foundation a long time ago for the love of my life. My wife and I met there's a photo of us at a birthday party. I think we're like 4 and 5.
Okay, wow.
But we weren't, I don't know that we talked to each other. Like, we just happened to be.
It's just photo evidence of
Yeah.
interaction.
And I hadn't seen that until later. But we started dating. I was in 8th grade. She was in 7th grade.
Okay.
Which is a long time. And plenty of drama. Hormones and teenage love and what that looks like internally versus what someone with actual experience will look at and be like, y'all just slow down.
Yeah. Well, I think 1% of marriages are high school sweethearts. It's like just under 1. So I have no idea what the middle school statistic would be.
Let's hope lower than that.
It has to be, right?
We are advocates of not doing that, despite making it work.
Yeah.
We've just grown together and have gone through, whether it's like moving out of hometown, separate colleges, to moving across the country together after we were married, and that it just allows you to become individuals, and then how to problem solve, how to learn to fight versus, teenage behaviors are not really the
100%.
best way of problem solving.
Yeah.
And we're very grateful and thankful that we have grown together.
Yeah.
Because that's not always the
That's
case.
not easy to do. Yeah, it's
Which is
impressive.
why
that
there's
you'll-
1%
100%.
stat.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense. So then Mississippi State
Yes.
was undergrad.
So all my immediate family, there's a couple of Ole Miss Rebels in the mix, but predominantly was Mississippi State.
Okay.
Immediate family was from there. We had just moved around for work reasons for my dad. But that was this team I grew up cheering for and visited a lot because my grandparents were still in the area, so we would go back and see the campus. I went there. It was the only school I applied to. It was a terrible strategy. But being from Texarkana, I was like, I knew I wanted to get out of here. It was like I had an amazing upbringing, and it was like a great, safe space to develop as a human.
But Mississippi State felt like exploring? Is that-
You're taking the jokes right out of my mouth. Okay. But I was like, it's not here.
yeah.
I knew I wanted to be at a school that had sports that I could, even whether they're good or bad. We had some good basketball runs right before I got there, and then there were some good years while I was there. Football had an solid late 90s, early 2000s, and then it went bad. It went real bad. And while I was there, it was bad, but we did beat Bama.
Oh, wow.
And that's where my wife went. So
Was that like
it was
a
even
even
sweeter.
moment, or was that?
I didn't get to stay because my wife was ready to leave. That's a whole nother interview, to be honest. It's funny. Texarkana, maybe I should go somewhere bigger. And I mean, while the school is bigger, it also too was a safe environment. And I was very fortunate, not knowing what I was getting into. Just kind of my MO through life was like, I don't know, and then I just make the best of the situation. Yeah. And the faculty that happened to be there while I was there was tremendously impactful on my life, to the point my mentor, Kate Bingman-Burt, was one of my design professors, became good friends with her and her husband, was an intern for them, just showed me an entire world that I didn't know existed, and examples of people making a living doing creative work, whether it was illustration or design. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. Well, and you're the one who pinned it when we were first talking, that this theme of connection with people, it's not quite as random as it seems on the surface. That as you go back to basketball young, you think about this, and then even now your art, but that there is that theme of connecting people to one another. And you're like, I'm just gonna do this, figure it out, see what happens.
If I'm having a good time, surely someone else will. That's kind of the default.
Yes.
I enjoyed making this thing. Maybe you'll enjoy looking at it. If you don't, that's fine. But
100%.
It's here.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I love it. Did you when you went to Mississippi State, what did you start majoring in? What was the switch down a...
Again, no prep, no research. I first went to the business building, which is newer, nice.
Yeah.
I got branded portfolio, a folder thing, pencils.
Yeah.
Then they're telling me all the math classes I have to take, and I am glazed over. Homer Simpson's trying to go in the bushes kind of meme of
disappear.
Please don't make me do this.
Yeah.
And I like telling my parents, it's nice. This seems like school. This will be fine, I guess. Soon as we walked in the art building, I was like, this is where I need to be. It smelled weird. It looked weird. There's paint all over the floors. It's not a nice building, but it was just broken in, and there's flyers all over the walls. I was like, stuff's happening. Yeah. Seeing people dressed slightly different than everyone else that I've already seen on the other side of campus, even down to the faculty.
Yeah, what was that? Did you go with somebody?
I was with my parents.
Friend,
this is orientation.
Okay. So you're touring it. Okay.
Freshman orientation. I'm already committed. I'm going here.
Okay.
And then it's learning that you can't minor in graphic design. It's a program you have to be accepted in. So you just do the foundation art courses, then apply as a sophomore portfolio review. It's a very intense, it's tough, intimidating thing. Yeah. And I was I guess I'm going to do this. I don't want to, if I have to go to that side of campus, I know I do. I'm at a state school. I have to take these other things. I'm not at an art school where everything is going to be what I want to do. And I survived those other classes. I even drew one of my first Nike characters for a shirt for Nike I drew in a science lab.
Wow, that's awesome.
I was like, I wasn't paying attention, but look what I did.
Yeah.
And it just happened to work out a few years after the fact. Eventually I got into the program and met Kate, who I mentioned before, and that was, then you're looking at all this expressive lettering and fun illustration references from all over the world throughout time. There's all these historical figures that I have no idea about.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is so crazy that this was happening. Saul Bass doing title sequences for films, and it's like flat and graphic and telling a story in very simple gestures. And you just go through all of history, and I'm like, this is already here, and I just get to jump in and somehow contribute.
Yeah. Would you describe it as like an aha moment or something, or more of like you just notice yourself like interested in, like continuously being drawn to like these classes, what you were learning?
At that phase, it was definitely Kate and other faculty members pointing.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't know about this, so you look at this. And then all of a sudden now you're paying attention to every sign in town that's been painted versus like the vinyl thing. Or critiquing menus. You kind of get out of that phase because it gets annoying and like no one else that you're sitting with wants to hear that. But you put on glasses for the first time and you see all of these details that you've completely ignored, and you probably would otherwise.
Yeah.
Because some of that's really boring to some people.
Yeah.
Some people like that is the most important thing that they could think of is like what typeface this is set in. But the other advantage I think of going there is I'm allowed to DJ because like this needs to happen. But I'm also playing intramural sports.
Yeah.
My wife is at school at Alabama, so she's got a whole agenda like honors school. A lot of reading, a lot of writing, a lot of testing. She's great at that. Has her thing going on. I have my thing going on. There's not a lot happening in Starkville to distract me.
Right.
There's not museums to go see. There's not, in that sense, it was like, this is where I'm at. How do I make the most of it? And it's like, make up stuff.
Yeah. You were talking about how important you thought that environment, again, like connecting the dots in hindsight, but like was for that development, right? You're like, if I went somewhere Northeast and
if
a
I'm
whole
in New
different
York,
experience.
I don't know if I survived. I would have liked to think that I would, but I wouldn't have met Kate. I wouldn't have met Brent, the long list of people that I met in Mississippi. And it felt more special there for me versus like being one of many and way behind. Because it's not like I entered with a portfolio.
Yeah, right.
Like I'm making that as a freshman.
Yeah.
And then as a sophomore, like the work from those classes. But then that quickly turned into I'm making work. Most of the work I show in my senior portfolio is not from classes. I've made so much stuff outside of class.
Okay.
Whether it's like 20 posters from doing DJ events to actual client work, because I've hit people up on MySpace and like, can I do a tote bag for your band or like a t-shirt? And I wouldn't have had all of that time to make those things in another place where there's much more of a social life happen. Because I wasn't really into partying at that point. Like I don't want to do that. I don't know.
Yeah. Were you already making like money on your art in college, or
a little
was that,
bit?
Okay.
A little bit. Towards the end, I had some, at that moment, very substantial projects in my mind. It's like someone's paying me to do this. This is unreal.
Yeah. Yeah. So does that, like senior year, you're moving towards graduation, are you thinking like this is a career move at that point? Like had it moved beyond like interest to like, this is what I want to do, make, create, or what was that like?
I had positioned myself not as like a graphic designer that could be hired by a company, but more of like an illustrator with this sensibility that I don't know at that time even anywhere there were in-house illustrators. I feel like that exists more now, especially within like tech world and like how much visual language is being produced by some of the agencies and brands. They have a team of people generating stuff all the time, which is cool. But then I mean, even if you did editorial work, not many publishers are hiring that. That's contracted out. Mm-hmm. I didn't know any of this.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just like projecting back.
Yeah.
And I knew I really wanted to. I don't know if I knew it was possible.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like until someone tells me I have to do something, whether that's an outside force or a parent or a spouse, I don't know. I was like, can I just keep doing this? And we graduated the end of 2008, so economy's not so good. Trying to find a place on Craigslist.
Okay.
Not so good. Job hunting, it was dependent on a lot of other things. I was like, how do I do this? What is the move? Is there somewhere that I could work that I then do this on the side until it maybe becomes a thing? I don't know if it was. I wanted it to be possible. I didn't know if it was possible. It was dependent on my wife. My wife, we get married right after we graduate. Also something I will not advise. Again, made it work. It turned out beautiful. But she was looking for jobs after we would play Nintendo Wii all morning. That I'm pretty sure we got from like a wedding registry. This was genius. And then I had a few freelance jobs that helped float us. We had parents help float the rent. And then it was, okay, this apartment costs $825 a month. I didn't even take into account utilities, but I was like, every potential job, I was like, how about $825? So dumb. It's such a terrible way of thinking. But young Will, very, very kind, sweet boy, very, very naive. Just in I would like to think a charming way, but I don't know. It depends on the person. So that strategy of, can I find a job to pay exactly what I need, which was still not enough because I wasn't considering other bills. There was a website called there is a website called Threadless, which is at that point was more of like, design a shirt, get enough votes, they'll make it. You'll get $1,000. So for several months of that first year, I was like cranking out T-shirts, trying to get votes.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Wow.
Never happened. I was like, well, if it did, it'd be sweet.
Yeah.
My wife Sally, eventually gets a job through interview process, and it's like an adult job. It's in old tech. Doesn't so much like it. Opposite of love.
Okay. Opposite of love.
But it's so solid, and she does amazing at it. It gets promoted numerous times. And I think at that time, I was like, I need to get out of the house to be more productive. So we're in this like 2-bedroom, somehow 600 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Yeah.
Mathing that is very bizarre. It did have vaulted ceilings. But I was using that spare bedroom as like a studio, and it wasn't working.
Yeah.
The Nintendo's in the room, the snacks are in the other room. Easily distracted. I got to go somewhere else. I joined a studio space called Public School, and that's where things really kind of started to establish itself as a career. Like I had done plenty of work before that, but the establishing this routine, you leave the house, you go work, you're around other people that are in similar fields and creative freelancers. Okay. And that, now you're seeing how someone else tackles invoicing, contracts, how they're scheduling their time.
Yeah.
In good ways and bad ways.
Yeah.
You just have other examples. And you're kind of in this playhouse of other dudes that are young and doing interesting things. Mm-hmm. And then when you have a client over, you're in a much bigger space so that you we call it peacocking. You're like putting the feathers out, looking like a bigger deal than you really are.
Yeah, yeah.
And it definitely sealed some deals for certain people.
Awesome.
Like, oh, they must have this thing figured out because, like, how are they in this space? It's like big and there's natural light. They have a kitchen.
That's awesome.
It was really dirty, but there was a kitchen.
That's cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then some collaboration is also happening through that. So there's people working photographer and designer making a book together, and that has gone on for decades. Lifelong friendships. Even the space that we're in now, it's like one of the guys was in that space. This is his back house.
Yeah.
And it's so neat to see that evolve over time, and we're still, around each other, and like we have kids and kids hang out. It's super neat. Contacting people as like a fan and seeing where that goes versus like, hey, can you give me a job?
Right.
Was always the strategy. Of like, I like what you're doing. Is there any way I can be involved?
Yeah.
And that is kind of continued for now 15 years.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I was curious, like, was there a time window in there that you were like doubting or questioning?
Oh, all the time.
This? Is that like
from year 1 to year 15?
Yeah,
there's definitely those are voices that are always there. I think as whether you're in any creative field, for sure. I'm assuming imposter syndrome is not limited to creative industry, but it just depends on the week.
Yep.
You could even have landed a dream job, and you're somehow not motivated to do it. You're like, this should have gone to someone else. Like, am I the one that's supposed to be doing this?
That's so real, though.
And then you're like, no one else is on this email thread. This is your responsibility.
Yeah.
You got to show up. But yeah, I mean it was shaky on and off, not knowing. I mean, that's like my wife having an actual job, capital J, with, I think she gets a check twice a month. And like, here's health insurance. Like all these things that come with having a job. That allowed me to continue to do it. That was not the plan. It just kind of accidentally kept going. There have been places and there have been moments that in my career that's like, this would be remarkable to have known consistency. You can financially plan around things versus like some months you make what you would make in a whole year in a month.
Yeah.
And then some months, would you like to buy a hat today?
Yeah, right.
I mean, 100%. Can I draw a sticker for you right now? Like now that's a job offer for you. Yeah. And it all ends up, every time there's doubt and you're worried that it's gone, so much stuff just then comes in another wave, and then you're stressed and like having to figure out how to manage your time again. In those first few years, maybe 5 or 6 years, it's when you get in those lulls between jobs and projects. What do I do? Do I panic? Do I just start randomly calling people? I've done that. I've sent mailers. I've sent that sort of stuff. But the go-to has always been make personal work that you want to be doing and put that out in the internet and in the world in ways that you see fit intentionally. Yeah. Not in an obnoxious, like in someone else's face way, but just like, I've made this thing, I'm into it. Unspokenly, what if you paid me to do this for you? It's kind of been the strategy. Yeah. And even now, you forget that.
I appreciate you like so much talking about, the combination of things there, the lulls, the self-doubt, lack of motivation, because I think it'd be just so easy for anybody watching to look at where you're at, and anybody would want to, probably swap places with you in whatever their given industry is. Like, man, if I could get to that. And so to use to speak to like that, that's a human thing. That's human thing, that's in all of us, regardless of the external circumstances or success or whatever it may be. Like, that feels very universally relatable to trying to do anything that matters to you. Like, I think would be.
But you're vulnerable. You're so vulnerable because like I care about this.
Right. So you said that was the first time it was kind of some stability that you ran into. Would you break your career to like phases from there? Like, was there a time period that you started to get to start to work with some really cool, companies, opportunities, brands? Like, what was there a takeoff moment, or how would you describe it?
It's been spread out. The first it was almost 3 years in Austin, out of undergrad, freelance. In that time, I got to do like a global T-shirt line for Nike. Okay. Thought that was a prank email from the studio mates.
Yeah,
but it was a real project
would too.
And that was like the love language within that space was just being total jerks in like a humorous way. Yeah. So that happened, and then I got connected with other local brands, but was also doing a lot of work nationally. But it kind of came to a point, my wife was going to go to grad school and I don't remember what the testing was, but decided, like, I don't know what I would do. I love school. I'm great at school. I should go back to school, but I don't know what I would do, so it makes no sense to do that. And I had talked about, primarily because of my mentor, Kate, like, I want to be that for someone else. So I want to teach at some point.
Yeah.
So I'll go get my master's and, again, applied to one school.
Yeah.
Where Kate was.
Strategy for you. Yeah.
She's left Mississippi. She's in Portland, Oregon. We had visited Portland while we were still an undergrad. Wanted to do that. Economy in 2008, finding a place on Craigslist. Didn't work out. So we moved to Austin. But that time here, it seemed like a natural thing. To be able to push myself as a human and work, to another level, but also just growth. And that, I feel like it was such an amazing time to be in a different place with her. And then the 2 years of school were insanely intense. The first year was brutal. Just for me as a person feeling out of place, like I have this commercial experience. I've just done the cover of the New York Times Magazine. Like, this is awesome. Wow. Yeah. Like, this is really cool. Yeah. Like, Obama saw this. Whether he looked at it, he definitely saw it.
Crazy.
It was so good for me, though. Like, I wouldn't be here work-wise, career-wise without that experience. First, I'm Kate's TA. Okay. And then I'm getting to teach. And I'm teaching through the program, but then I'm also, like, adjunct faculty. So that some terms I'm just hired as adjunct and get to teach. And that, that's what I wanted. One of the main reasons I went to grad school was to be able to do that. And the students there, absolutely exceptional. And it was so challenging, but so rewarding. Yeah. And that was like the safe space of like having all these heavy critiques and listening to what everyone else is making, who like, they don't know what they're doing either. Because that's just kind of the vulnerable state that you're in that. So I leave, I don't know what I'm doing, to let me tell you how to do something. Right. In graphic design. And it felt amazing. Yeah. I also probably wasn't the best teacher with just how mushy my brain was in that point and how stressed I am. But I tried to do the best that I could and connect with individual students. Overall, like big, the whole class, it's harder to, make that happen with every single person. But
I'd imagine that would be something you'd be great at. I feel like you have a really unique blend of like the people skills and creativity, and that does feel unique to you. But how did your work and opportunities evolve then, like post grad school? What changed after?
Yeah, so I actually had a job opportunity come up for an agency, and immediately out of school was like, is this what I do to have stability for the first time? And then I took the call with the recruiter, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. I don't want to do this. And then I'm like, freelancing is kind of picking back up, start slow, but then it's happening. And I'm playing basketball with a creative agency on like their city league team. So I'm like in there. Yeah. I've got friends at Nike, friends at Adidas, other agencies in town. So I'm like, let's do coffee. I'm showing up at these places, and stuff just kind of comes organically through those relationships. And we were close to just staying there. Okay. We had, shortly after that, we had our daughter. I don't remember exactly dates and everything. Maybe a year after grad school, we had our daughter. And then we make it a year with her. And we're like, do we stay? And like just know that family's gonna have to plan ahead and come visit, and like this is us doing our life up here, or do we move within driving distance to grandparents? Those kids are very magnetic, so it just made sense. But it was so hard to leave. I knew Austin had changed while I was gone, and I loved Portland, and I got used those summers. Absolutely gorgeous. And then that creative community was very, very active. I feel like more connected than here. I think there's equally amounts of things happening, but there was just especially Portland State, all the things that were happening through that it would be student-led, a lecture series, so many shows. Yeah. So that, it was tough, but I knew we explored some other ideas, other places south within driving distance, but none of it made sense. So we settled on, we know what Austin is, we'll go back. And to now be contributing to this new chapter of Austin is a huge honor and privilege, and seeing, like, I was worried for a little bit with the amount of growth, because we're talking, I moved back into of 2015, so 2016.
Okay. Yeah.
To right before COVID, you're like, what is gonna happen here? And I feel like a lot of good did come from a global pandemic, which is sad to say, but complicated to say.
Right.
But I think perspective shifts, culture changed, especially from like a work-life balance.
Yeah.
So I guess the backing up, career-wise, like big projects happen at all of those different phases at different times.
Yeah.
Because I remember right before I started grad school was the New York Times Magazine thing. And that was massive.
Yeah.
But then moving here and things started to pick up in a different way. Because like all of these companies and brands are moving to Austin, and somehow I'm getting tied into them wanting to work with a local creative. And there's a lot of big names in that. And getting to make, contribute to the visual identity of another chapter of Austin, which is like a long-standing, rich history of artists and musicians that have already been here for ages.
Yeah.
And then getting to contribute in the present is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why I think, like, whether people know it or not, like, when people think Austin, a certain amount, like, of what they visualize is, like, your fingerprint on it, you know, which is just, like, crazy because it is everywhere. Like, it's, you're all over the place. Like, it's so cool.
Got mouths to feed. I'm just saying yes to the jobs when they come, and I'm grateful and thankful. But, I mean, it is a massive responsibility, I think.
Do you have any, like, favorite projects or most memorable that comes up to the top of the list for you?
I've been so fortunate to work on a lot of things that I'm proud of and excited about. Ones that immediately come to mind because I think of myself as like the 12-year-old kid obsessed with basketball to then the working professional who's married. I got, in 2017, I was hired by Adidas during NBA All-Star Weekend to be like one of the artists in this space, basically making work around the narrative of All-Star Weekend. Okay. So like you've got the skills challenge, 3-point contest, dunk contest, All-Star game. Adidas has a roster of athletes, and they've created this space to kind of show off to them and like, look at all the stuff that we're making, and this is like for you to come check out. And I mean, so many amazing artists were in that project in like different components.
Okay.
Kind of one big room, but a big warehouse space, but someone's painting shoes, someone else is painting a mural, some people are customizing other products. And I had like a mini half court, started out blank white, and there was going to be some red accents, and otherwise it was just all black line work. And it slowly fills in throughout the course of 3 days.
Wow.
And my assistant is my wife.
Okay.
So we're in New Orleans. No kids. I work during the day. We go on dates at night. It was incredible.
So cool.
She's not, I mean, she'll laugh if you like, are you creative? She'll say no, but she very much is, but not in this realm at all. But she is filling in, there'll be big sections of black that like maybe there's a drop shadow on the type, or James Harden's beard, and she'll like help fill in a thing for me. And make sure that I eat and drink and am not being a goober in a bad way. And taking photos and stuff off the side when I get to meet, whether it's James Harden or Kristaps Porzingis or Candace Parker.
Oh my gosh.
It was insane. So cool. So
that full circle like moment. That's crazy. Yeah. That it's that career that got you to be a part of that moment.
It's like I am not in any place that I've ever lived.
Yeah.
In a very cool city during NBA All-Star Weekend. And I'm meeting people that I've watched play basketball professionally.
That's unbelievable. That's so cool.
And then the last day I got to dunk and dribble on the court because it's like a low goal.
That's like,
Not-
quite a,
it was amazing. It was so amazing. And so that definitely stands out for all those reasons. I can think of others, but I'm going blank right this second. But that one was very notable.
Yeah.
Just hit too many cool factors.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, I love it. What about just, you kind of hit it on it already, but I think there is something universally applicable, anybody that's working on anything meaningful. But when you hit like a creative block, you get in the studio, you got to work on something, and you're like, I can't today. Like, walk me through that process. Some of the voices, I don't
That you
have
can't
it.
make and you got to get over.
Yeah. There's like what does that look like? How do you work through that? How do you get through a season that feels like more of a dry spell? Do you have dry spells? What is that like?
Yeah.
Kinda,
I mean, again, it goes back to imposter syndrome of just like, there are so many people that make work look like this. Why am I the one that, do I need to walk away? That's the darkest it gets, I feel like. But other days, like, I'm uninspired and I can't. Like, I don't want to phone this one in. I got to come up with something good that I haven't done, some sort of combination or different direction. The quickest, easiest things are coffee, snacks.
Yeah.
But that doesn't always work.
Yeah.
More recently within my personal life, exercise has become like pertinent to the process. It's tied to physical and mental and creative. Like I have to. Movement has become so crucial.
Yeah.
And then the other times it's like I've got to just generate a bunch of stuff. So the things I just discussed maybe get me to that point, and then I'll make, whether they need to be complete or fine-tuned or not is not the thing. It's just like make a bunch to then be able to edit and pare down. Being like, I'm going to push this thing further in a different direction.
Yeah.
But it almost accidentally will relate to what I'm actually supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the same, and sometimes it's like I'm procrastinating. So I
it's like
get
productive
the
procrastination.
momentum.
Yeah,
Cleaning a space is another go-to.
Yeah. There you go.
You're just like, what if it smelled better in here? Would I pay more attention to what I'm supposed to be doing?
Right.
Or it's all of the emails that I've neglected, and then if the sense of accomplishment leads into momentum that carries over into the thing that I'm supposed to be making progress on.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I've always just felt like, in talking to whatever, there's something about creative work in particular, it's different than just go do 100 more push-ups, Like, I don't know what it is, but there's like, you can't necessarily just grind it out. Like, it's like there's a block, there's nothing there. What is it?
And a deadline,
practical.
sometimes, that's just like pulls it out.
Right.
I'll make sports references all day on anything, but you get to the fourth quarter and you're running out of time.
Yeah.
It's like, we either make a comeback or we don't.
Yeah.
So like, start making better decisions.
Yeah.
And be present.
Yes. Yeah, that's so good. Any like dream projects still like out ahead of you that you're like, man, maybe one day or?
Oh yeah. I got a list. I've done a shoe, but I haven't done a Nike.
Okay.
I don't know if that would be a Jordan 1 or performance basketball shoe. I think I would have a little more leeway with a performance shoe.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would like. I love Jordan 1 silhouette so much. And there was another artist collab by Blue the Great who did color blocking in a way that I think I would have approached the same thing. So I'm like, is it needed? Maybe we wait long enough and then there's time. Anyway, shoe, I love shoes. Shoes would be awesome. And then a really big one would be playground, design a playground.
Wow.
That would be outstanding, I think.
Yeah.
There's so much problem solving, so it would have to, of logistical safety concerns, fabrication things, it would have to be the right team.
Yeah.
But I keep putting it out in the universe, so maybe
somebody will
someday.
see, reach out. Yeah.
Oh, it'd be so fun. Because I just, big, bold forms of color, but then you're able to climb on it and interact with it in some crazy way. I mean, that's just a low bar thing. Just, can you climb on this thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
But a squiggle seesaw just seems like it needs to exist.
Yeah, it should. If anyone's gonna make it happen, man, I think it's you. So that's incredible. I love that.
Those are the first two that come to mind. I know I have other.
Yeah.
I haven't worked with Patagonia, which is a
Okay.
brand that I really respect for environmental reasons, ethical reasons. Like I want to work with them.
Yeah.
But then I mean, I was supposed to go to Japan and paint a basketball court. So that would be another. It happened. It was in the works. COVID came.
Oh
and it just,
man, dang. Yeah.
So maybe that'll
Maybe something like that will come back around. Yeah.
Come back around.
Wow, that'd be great.
But there was going to be like a youth basketball camp interaction element to it. I was like, please, yes.
Yeah, gosh, that would have been cool. Yeah, it'll happen. Something like
Yeah.
that will happen. That'd be great. So, the final question that we like to ask every guest is essentially, because we get to see people in so many different fields, but then to see like what inspires you within that field is like always like, what's behind the work, what's behind the product and all that. So just today, and it doesn't have to be what's always inspired you, it could just be where you're at, stage of life today. What would you say inspires you, gets you out of bed in the morning, it's part of why you love what you do? What is that?
I've got plenty of things to say about that. I mean, there's the first thing that comes to mind are my kids. Like that's motivation to do anything. Yeah. But then also how they see things, like seeing the world through their eyes and like what excites them. I mean, I'm kind of a cheat code when it's like bright, colorful, fun.
Yeah.
Most kids like that.
Yeah.
That's that's definitely inspiring. And then being in nature is the other component, I think, from whether that's cycling and you see, or trail running, you see environments in completely different ways than you would normally, like whether that's a car or even walking. And that directly, especially cycling, is directly related to work, because this is from a photo of my friend Gideon, and it's a notable route in Austin, but then filtering it through my style, it is more like a daydream. Like you're looking back at like how it feels to be there than what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
I guess that's like a direct inspiration. But then as far as like big inspiration, motivation, I mean, the fear of letting someone down is always a motivating factor for me. Yeah. That's just how I'm wired.
Yeah.
Because like, what if you did stop?
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know. There's someone I might let down if I did that. I don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so real. Yeah. So scarily real. Yeah. Yeah. Dang. I love it. It's multiple avenues of inspiration in it.
Yeah, it's like
all
let's
of them
start
relatable.
we'll start with the Disney one, and then we'll get like a little deeper, darker, heavier of like,
Yeah.
it's real.
Yeah. It's awesome. Well, I seriously appreciate you carving out the time to talk with us.
This has been a blast. Thank you all so
I-
much for having me. I'm excited to be involved. And
Yes, I've loved both of our pre-convo, this one, getting to know you. Like you're an anomaly or something to me. I'm just like, wait, basketball and then art and then what? And then you just do stuff and are you afraid? You are afraid, but I'm like, I don't know. I love like trying to hear how your mind works and really inspiring what you do. I love.
sometimes it takes a while for the mind to work, but the spirit is always there and ready to do something.
Yeah. Almost in a literal sense, your fingerprints are all over Austin. So it is, it's very cool to get to, know you, meet you, get down and chat. So really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.